So recording started and action.
Welcome, Mattias, and thank you for giving us time to being with us today. And we'd like to hear more about you from you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So my name is Mattias Lögdberg. I'm Microsoft MVP since 2017, I think, and currently running a company called DevUP Solutions, where we work with analyze and review is the short answer, I think. But in the long run, more consistent and secure environment, I would say. Other than that, I think, well, you often might see me at conferences or speaking at events and so forth.
We are glad to have you, and since you are a speaker and we've seen you around, we have some questions around that topic. So before we start, we always try to have the previous guest, asking a question to the future guest, and the previous guest was Mike Stevenson, and he asked regarding your integrate session, but not regarding your topic, which we should deep dive in later. He asked regarding your suits. So
Ooh.
first, his questions will come very soon. But first, why the suits?
It's actually quite fun. So I had a friend. He was doing a conference in Toronto, and they bought these suits with a beach view, like a sunset on a beach. They had on their jacket, and they got a lot of questions during that conference. Had like people were coming asking them, said like nice suits and so forth. So I wanted to try that. So what I did was buy the Super Mario suit for Integrate 23, and well, it was really good. It was a good thing to. It was. I think it was the conference I've been talking to most people of all times, and it was a great icebreaker.
Yeah, I
So
had a picture with
that's
this,
why I
actually
do this.
borrowing it for one picture, I think, your blazer.
Exactly,
Yeah.
it's awesome. It was a good icebreaker, and it was a lot of fun for me wearing them. So that's why.
Okay.
And
And
this year was Pac-Man. So yeah.
so Super Mario, Pac-Man, and here comes the question from Mike. So if you know, like, what's your end game? What's the end suit? What's your goal suit?
The thing is, I've been watching this, and we have been doing the video game style now, but they seem to kind of end up in fun video games. So I don't know. We need to find something.
Okay, so there is
I
none.
don't have a good game plan right now.
Okay. I saw John Cena at the Oscars, and he had a quite funny suit. So if you don't know what he wore, look it up and see if that's your end suit. But
Yeah,
Cool.
that's not for now.
Sounds good.
Yeah. But yeah, as I mean, we should try to deep dive a bit more about your background. And you said that you started the DevUp Solutions, and can you explain a bit more about what was the cause for that?
So before that, I was a consultant working as a solution architect, and what I usually did the last years I was working was more like, okay, here's a fire. Let's throw Matthias in and put it out. And I was doing that for like all the customer for the consultancy firm that I was working with, a lot of them at least. So I was one of those tools. And during that part, I realized that a lot of the things I did could have been automated. So I actually pitched my idea that we're doing today, the Helium, which is our service today. I actually pitched that to that consultancy firm because I thought it would be a great idea to do this to like increase all the developers' knowledge and also make sure that we have a better, a lower bar and a higher bar. I mean,
Mm,
a higher low,
mm,
to make sure that we deliver more quality to our customers.
mm.
But they didn't want that because in the end it's a consultancy firm. They prefer to do their business model is consultancy.
Yeah.
So after some turnarounds in my life, I just thought, what the heck, let's try it out. And then I throw myself in and start DevUp Solutions back in 2021, mid COVID. So it was an interesting start. Let's say that.
So you're not afraid of a challenge. It sounds like.
No,
And it
I
seems
love a challenge, that's for sure.
it all turned up in a good way because I think DevUp is one of the. I don't see many products like this product in the market.
Yeah.
And it's we have it in Contica, and it have been adding a lot of value. Talking about value, added value to what we deliver.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really good idea. So we
Thank
grateful
you.
that you didn't have this exclusivity
Yeah.
to one company.
Yeah.
We are glad to have that.
And we're also glad that you mentioned. I mean, we are also passionate about like hiring the how do you say that? Raising the bar of knowledge.
Raising the
So we
bar.
build raising the bar for knowledge that we can build better solutions. And I guess that yeah, it's a nice thought.
I like the idea about the whole product and like how you managed with your MVP engagement with the community to add this to the product, because whoever look into the product, you see tips and tricks how you can come by those fires that you just mentioned now, and how to actually go around them, because we're still facing until today new stuff comes all the time and you don't really know where to start.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah,
just
exactly.
give
And-
you
And the idea was to kind of exactly as you said. The idea was to bring in like sharing knowledge on a deeper, bigger scale. I would say not only to the closest people you're working with or the few customers that you actually can work with, but to a bigger scale. That's always been the dream in the end.
That sounds nice. And I guess that, I mean, sharing knowledge, I guess that we should try to find our way until your I mean, I'm a bit interested in your presentation. I've seen you a couple of times, and I guess that the integration community have seen you plenty of times. And when I have seen you, you have always been using a whiteboard. So
Yes.
why the whiteboard?
So back to challenges again, I think. Yeah. So back in 2017, I got my MVP award at the fall. I think it was December 2017 or something like that. And I managed to get into Integrate 2018 as a speaker. So joining Integrate 2018 as a speaker, a conference I've been on every year for the last 5 years, gave me a challenge. I need to do something that is different. I need to do something so people remember me, so I can come back year after year. That was my game plan. So I found a good story, and I realized I could tell this with a whiteboard and make it more interactive, more fun, more engaging for everybody watching. So I tried it, and I prepared it for months. I haven't prepared anything so much as I did that session. And I would say actually the whiteboard sessions is harder to do than any PowerPoint session. Because it's a lot more knowledge you need to have the top of your mind, and it's a lot more like you need to practice the drawing, make sure that you place everything correct and so forth. But yeah, it was a challenge to myself. How can I be remembered at Integrate?
And so first whiteboard, then the suit. What's the next thing?
I don't know.
I was about to ask now. I was about actually to ask now. What is the challenges that you didn't dare to jump in? If you
I think the third one. I think I actually know the third one, and it's actually coming up quite soon. Nordic Integration Summit, I think, is the third one. Creating our own event, I would say that would be the third one.
So challenges.
Yes,
but I mean, nice. And I guess that, I mean, for a lot of people out there thinking about presentation and thinking about that, I want to be presenting at the Integrate or Nordic Integration Summit or wherever. I mean, it's something that people are afraid of. But can you give those people thinking about taking that challenge, like 3 advices what you should think about?
First of all, don't be afraid if you have like blackouts or hard doing things, because when I started speaking, I blacked out every single time. I was like, fast speeding my PowerPoint, and I learned it the hard way that I needed to have 15, 20 slides for the first 10 minutes. I needed a lot of slides in the beginning to get comfortable and do my delivery, and then I could have longer periods of slides. So that's step one, making sure that you're or not, maybe not a tip, but it's like, don't be afraid. You can train this. You can do this in a good way. Just find your path and make sure to find your inner peace, because it's your inner peace that is the most important one. So the first real tip would be, before any presentation you're doing, don't think about the presentation. Do something that gives you peace of mind. Like, I don't know, watch a kitten movie, or I don't know, give a hug to someone, or something that gives you peace of mind. Keeps your head out of the session or the speak you're gonna do. That would be the first thing. Second thing would be, don't be afraid of silence.
Yeah, awkward silence is.
And now,
As you can see,
you broke it.
Yes.
now, as you can see, as I said, Ahmed wasn't able to keep it. He was start talking. And that's the problem. We don't like silence, especially when we have, I don't know, 20 plus people watching us. We don't like silence. We hate it. So one of the biggest trick is just learn to be comfortable in it. And you can do it by counting backwards. It could be like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you start talking again. That would be I would say that would be a good trick.
I think,
because then you can get comfortable with the audience. You can be silent with the audience. You can make sure that they do their, I don't know, clapping or something like that, that you actually be more present for the audience and not run over it like most speakers do. How many times haven't you been in a conference when they start clapping and the one on top of the stage continue speak? I mean, just often it would have been good just to wait it out. But yeah, that would be two. And the third one would be, I forgot the third one. What should I take as a third one then?
I think I would give a tips. What I'm afraid of the most is seeking confirmation while talking. It's not the awkward silence. It's just I'm saying something and I'm expecting a specific reaction and I'm not getting it. That's so scary for me. So I from my side, I think I taught myself to stop expecting reactions. And maybe
Either you do that, or you know what you do. You pick a person in the audience that you want to be nodding. Or you find that person in the audience that is nodding and you focus on that singular person. That's also good.
That's also a way to
But you also mentioned preparation from the first session, that you prepared for a month. Could that be a good tip also?
Preparations should be doing in good time. When I started doing my presentation, I was lazy and I usually did my day or two before. That often made it worse, made it bad. It got me in a stressed position. But if you do it like a long period of time before, so you can prepare good, then you usually a lot easier. Because if you talk about something that you're comfortable with, it's very easy to be comfortable in yourself. So preparations is key. That's for sure. And I mean, I don't really do this, but some people actually do this. They even plan like pauses. They plan like, this is a joke. Now the audience should laugh. Or I usually go out and say a question to the audience, and I often like wait for it and like, no, it wasn't good enough, and then I try again. And often it's not good again. Like 3 or 4 times you try it again, and you should plan and think about those things. Do I want the audience to react? Am I able to push them to react? And plan those pauses as well.
Yeah.
And keep practicing.
Keep practicing.
I
guess
just keep doing it.
Challenge yourself to do it. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And again, don't push it in the end. Just last few hours, don't even think about the presentation. Just get comfortable. It will come naturally from you.
Yeah.
In a much better way then.
Yeah, and anything else that you want to
I have
into?
A question that I didn't want to, because there was a good flow about the presentation and I want to learn more, get more tips from Mattias, but I want just to take back to Mattias, like putting down fires. Where do you start when you have a fire? What is the first things you start to look for when you are jumping into a technical fire?
Let's mention that it's a technical fire and it's an
integration
technical fire.
Integration technical fire.
No, and only a fire experience.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so well, usually, this was a hard one. So it depends a little bit, but if I'm usually take a step back is my approach and try to understand why it is. So most issues that I wouldn't say most issues, but a lot of issues that I've been helping customers with lately is network problems. And then it has usually like a DNS or it's a firewall or it's something. So usually just pin down where am I. So I'm here and I'm here. This is where I'm going for. How's my route? How's the route going this place?
Mm.
And usually just bring it down like, okay, I'm here. What's the next step?
Mm.
Okay, next step is going up here. Okay, is that working? Yes, it is. Okay, good. What's the next step? Going there? Okay, is that working? Yes or no? And then just work your way to the goal.
Mm.
And that's usually how I do it. Just don't panic. Just go down, calm down, and start from the base, and just step by step.
Yes.
And I can't believe the bridge we just did. I mean, now the next topic is Integrate 2024, and you talked about networking, and the session you had was Master Pass Networking for Azure Integration Services, and you mentioned you thought that when going to cloud, you were not going to deal with networking anymore,
I loved it.
and you loved it. But now you're talking at Integrate about networking, and you talk about networking now. But let's
Yeah.
get back a bit. Why this topic? Why did you talk about this topic at Integrate?
I think the biggest reason why I picked this topic was that during the last year, I've been talking about this so much with customers and partners. This has been the topic number one. Just because it's complex and it's also something that is today something that we as developers or architects needs to be involved with in a much deeper level. So when we were on prem, we had a server, but everything about network was outside. Today, when we deploy something into Azure, we need to configure private endpoints. We need to configure firewall settings, yada, 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 on our resources. Sure, there's a network team that we can assist us, but we're still into doing a lot of that. And also another thing that I realized during all these talk is that people don't understand. They just click. They have no clue what they're doing. They just in a chain of services going on, there can be jumping back and forth through network, and no one actually understands that they're doing that. And then when I come in and I'll talk to them, I was like, okay, here you're going out on network, here you're going back in the network, here you're going out on network, and back in again. And they're like, what? We're not supposed to be able to do that. Well, you're doing it.
You're doing it.
So just doing that and visualize it, which was part of the presentation. That's why I tried to draw it and visualize it on Integrate, just because it's a much more complex thing than we want to believe that it is.
Yeah.
That's one of the most things I love about your presentation. Is that's actually putting a picture that we don't really pay attention to in like day-to-day work, because we think, yeah, there is the network and the API management. So we call a service here and we call a service there and start trigger a logic app somewhere. We don't really put those things in consideration. And it's amazing how you highlight this part, because when things goes wrong, it's most of the time it's just fire, because no one have been considering those things while building the solution.
Yeah.
But highlighting that quote you made, or the like when going to the cloud, you shouldn't be. I mean, you kind of said that you now where we're in the cloud, we should not focus on networking anymore, and that was great. But how do you feel like from like that travel, and that you thought that no more network, but now you're only talking about network? Is it more network now?
Yeah, it is, or at least I think the big difference is back 10 years. It's 10 years ago, so it's quite some time now. When I started this, then network wasn't possible for a lot of services that we use today. And also, I think from security perspective and from like infrastructure perspective, people wasn't ready. Companies wasn't ready. They just like, okay, cloud, it's something else. Let's just do whatever you want in it. We do the real stuff down here.
Yeah.
I think that was the approach back then. But now we have the opposite around. I think now more or less like the cloud is the biggest thing, which means that they need to have control over the cloud. And when you put that pressure on someone, like if you put that on a security specialist or whoever is going to take a decision, and you say like, okay, I want secure solutions, you have two options. Either you go out and say like, okay, I put this in the hands of every developer to do a good thing. Or you say like, okay, hey, I require everything in network because that then I know at least that something, I know something about it. I know some boundaries around it. I can say 9 out of 10 gonna pick the network part because then they have some sort of control over it. Because then someone can screw up, someone can do something bad, and it's not that big of an impact.
Yeah.
But still, we have seen so many breaches anyway because still we are reliant on doing good development and doing good configuration in the cloud. So it's a lot. It's still important, and it gives a, I don't know, a safe security sometimes, but it's a way of getting a feeling of secure.
Yeah. I mean, but how, as a developer or a system integration developer, or how, I mean, where should we start if you feel like this is something complicated? Like, we thought that we shouldn't focus on it, but now we need to focus on it. What's your advice? Where should we start? What's the
I think
first?
that the best thing to start learning, or the biggest thing you need to learn, is private endpoints, because private endpoints is usually what we end up in as an integration developer. That's usually what we do. I think the big one, like an app service environments and those really chunky ones, that will be delivered by some operations area somewhere or so. We have been, at least I have been managing those in the past, but I see less and less of that. I would rather say that today it will be private endpoints and small connections. So understanding the services and understanding like how is a private endpoint connected, the private DNS, how's that working. You don't need to be able to build all of that, but you need to have an understanding of it.
Yeah.
We still talking about the same configuration on-prem or on cloud. Azure, the network is the same. Most of them, that's what you need to look at to whether it's private or it's a cloud. It's quite the same things. But we have a new things that's coming on, which is AI. I have to mention AI. I have to ask something about AI. I cannot just let it be. Where do you think that this is something that can like be integrated within this subject, or how AI plays a role within network? World?
Oh, good question, because network configuration, I think, is one of the things that is going to be staying hidden for long. I think AI is really good at, crunching data, crunching finding patterns and so forth. I know that AI is somehow used in detection of breaches, like network reading network data to detect like patterns for breach, or new patterns that is suspicious and so forth. That I know is using. It's using. Also, I think just getting explanations about network configuration, just using like, I don't know, explain to me why do I have a firewall rule like this? I mean, start getting that kind of information as a developer is really good, because then you can get human readable text that is a lot easier than all the documentation that is outdated, or have been written in bare minimal.
Yeah.
So I think that's two areas at least where AI comes in, or I can see AI today getting that, looking at the volume of data and finding patterns, and also then explaining how this is working. Because to be honest, who remembers what /24 or /36 or /12 is? I don't know. I know them, but still, it's usually something that you forget.
Yeah.
No, usually you run into and you Google something and you say, "Oh yes, that was it."
Yeah.
Like I don't even write my own notes, like read my own notes. I write my own notes, but I don't read them.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
usually
never
the case.
go back in time and check. It's usually when it's panic, you don't really look around.
Yeah.
So it's
So it could probably come more things as well, but I think that's the easiest way and the starting points.
But I mean, you've been at Integrate a lot of times and as a speaker as well. But from what was your takes from Integrate 2024? I mean, what's interesting, or some new subject, or something that you felt like, wow, this is fresh.
I think if you look at the investments that is doing, I think the most fresh one, I would say, is how they want to bring in the cloud to on-prem or private cloud. I think that's one of the biggest points. and also a lot about, I mean, AI is all over the place. Every I think every provider at Microsoft or every team or whatever you want to call them, product group, want to be part of the AI journey. So a lot of people talked about AI, how to implement AI in their solutions.
Mm.
So I think that was also a big thing from this event this year. But those two things, I think that's the biggest part for me.
So except for your session that you should, I mean, except for looking at your session, you should, your advice for people is to look at those topics. I mean,
I think that's at least where it's a lot of changes coming up
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we are
and a
going
lot of
back
new
back
things
to the
coming up.
private. Yeah,
yeah.
we are
More
going back
networking.
more networking
Yes,
and like yes, closing in. We like it was a wave that's opening up everything and going to the cloud, and now we are just trying to focus on how to close in what
Yeah.
should be.
exactly. Going back down.
Yeah, exactly. We are going back down again
Back
somehow. I
down
don't
in the
know.
networking.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like this curve, it's going up, it's going down.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we're having, as you mentioned in the start here. I mean, Nordic Integration Summit coming up. What's and you're involved. So, can you tell us more about that, and what's your are you excited about?
Oh, I'm so excited! It's gonna be so much fun.
I can
Going to be awesome.
relate.
So from this recording date, I think it's 2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
which should start. So this going to be really fun doing the first integration conference in Sweden. I think that is at least for developer and for architects focus.
Mm.
That's going to be fun. And as you mentioned before, I've been talking at Integrate, doing that, and I love being in London, love being at Integrate, and I will still continue love doing that. Hopefully, I will be able to join next year as well as a speaker. But I think from our perspective, is like something is missing in Sweden. We found when we talked about this. I think it's 2 years ago when we started talking about this as a small like an idea.
Mm.
We realized there's a lot of people in Sweden who talk about integration. We have a lot of focus in Sweden about this, and a lot of strong companies as well. So having something in Sweden as well, enforcing, complementing, I would say rather, for Integrate, because Integrate is in June, and we do something in Sweden at the fall in October this year.
Mm.
So doing that as a complement, bringing in a little bit more of Sweden into it, we thought that would be fun, and we try to do that, or we are doing this as a community event, community driven. So we're a small group of people doing this on our spare time, just for because we just like it and want to have fun doing this, and want to give the opportunity to bring in speakers from all over the world to Sweden, and also attendees from all over. I think Europe, I would say attendees, but yeah.
Mm. It sounds like a theme in your life, sharing knowledge. You started a company, sharing knowledge, raising the bar, presentation, sharing knowledge, and now even a community-driven conference. And I mean, it's a lot of people involved, Ahmed as well. So I mean, it's a really community-driven event, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I really like this feeling about how you are making something and you are actually genuinely just putting something out to get people involved and get people together. It have another level of satisfaction to you
Mm.
when you like I like to share knowledge with people. It gives me energy
Mm.
actually. Like
Mm.
when we are sitting here talking, we can sit here and have some presentation and maybe drawing something on a whiteboard
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's sharing, but still, it's just when people can get more tips about maybe how to present, how to create a new presentation, or how to maybe put down a technical fire.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling. I mean,
Yeah,
doing all of this gives you something back in the
Yeah.
end. I mean, you can say that you can hold on. Some of people want to hold on their knowledge and stuff like that, but I always felt that giving to everyone else is how I level up at myself. I mean, that's how I gain new knowledge because I can share it with everyone else, and it's as Ahmed saying, it's a big satisfaction doing that.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. I
Definitely.
like it.
Yeah.
yes.
And speaking of liking things, I guess that the next
Yeah.
the next thing to talk about here is this part is called integration love story.
Ooh.
So what we mean about that is that in this community, in the integrator community, of course, everyone has a love story. Everyone has a story where they fell in love with integration. Either it was a solution, either it was a customer value, or it was just that this technique worked. And I don't even know why it worked, but that's where I fell in love. So can you, Matthias, tell us about one integration love story?
Wow, I have so many in my mind right now, but I would actually say, is it okay that I take one going really far back? So this is actually when I was working at a factory.
A factory. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's really
So
interesting.
I was a service technical person going in and fixing machines and stuff like that. And I loved when the more skilled people were there, the hired people, like consultants that came in and do development on the machines. So I learned it by them. So I learned by looking at them, and I learned by trial and error with my big bosses' good approval. And somewhere along that, even if it was, more like it was air, and it was, sensors, and it was a lot. It was more like a system. I know it was more machines doing stuff, but still, that's where I fell in love with the part where you can automate things. Like I could help the people on the delivery line automate tasks for them because I can change things there.
Mm.
Around that point, I fell in love with the whole like automation story, which
Mm.
is what integration is.
Yes.
In the end, integration is automation.
Mm.
So when I then started doing my at Chalmers in Gothenburg, I started my education. I really fast found that building the integrations, connecting to systems, moving data back and forth,
Mm.
that was the real fun, because it wasn't that fun, putting up a form and someone saves some data just out in a database. That was, yeah, okay, cool. But the real cool stuff was when someone entered that form and that ended up to a delivery somewhere. And then all of a sudden there was a packing slip printed somewhere.
Mm.
And 2 weeks later, the customer actually got the package home delivered.
Mm.
That's when I fell in love with integration.
It's an
It's
amazing story. It's
a-
really nice.
and everyone has their own.
Yeah.
I guess that. So thank you for that story. And yeah, I mean, as you said, there's more stories, but a
But
lovely
that
lovely
was the
story.
first one of someone falling in love with integration without even knowing what it was integration. That was
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
knowing what integration is. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a fun part. It was really nice. I still remember it today with good feeling in my heart.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Well, that was our last question. If there was no more.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we are glad that you were here, and we I mean, as you I really I just want to state that we had one customer, I mean, who had talked to you, and I'm just going to say that that customer talked to us, and he said that he talked to you, and he said that we heard that whatever Matthias doesn't know is not worth knowing. So I guess that's a good compliment, and I mean, we're really glad to have you here, and thanks for sharing all your knowledge in all kind of ways. So thank you for this session, and but we have one last thing, right?
Yeah.
Next guest.
Yes. So one last question, and then we will let you get by your day. I'm grateful that you had give us some time. So our next guest will be Sandro,
Oh,
and we have this theme that the next guest will be expecting a question from the previous one, which is you in this case. So how would you challenge Sandro in a question?
oh, good one. I have two popping up in my head. One, what's the deal with all the F at one circulating pictures that's coming up in our flow? Might be too personal, but yeah, still, what's the deal with F at one racing stuff? Uh, and the second one, let's take it fits whatever fits best. That would be like, uh, why all this hate against Microsoft when you're on stage?
Ah,
Yeah.
Hate, man. That's for sure.
yeah,
I think it's more like love,
Yeah,
really close love relationship there.
yeah.
hate and love very close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah. Like we will bring them to Sandro, and we expect interesting answers from him. So thank you so much, Matthias, for coming today, and yeah, for sharing.
Thank you for having me. It was a really fun thing and good initiative.